Welcome to the learning domain. We are all learners from birth till death. But how does this learning happen in us? Various learning theories or various approaches to the one and the same dimension, one and the same thing called learning. So how do we learn? Behaviorists explain learning in a way which is nothing other than a SR-bond connection or conditioning. Cognitivists say we have to take into consideration not only the stimulus and response, but there is this organism in between stimulus and response. It is SOR theory for the cognitivists. Constructivists say it is knowledge is constructed. Every time the learner is in charge. The learner constructs his own repertoire of knowledge through various experiences. So, a real life experienced related, problem related tasks are necessary for learning. Social cognitive theorists explain we have observation. Learning happens through observation. Society is also very important. It is not like the behaviorist says, it is not everything conditioned. Sometimes we can also learn through observation. Inside learning, by Gestalt theorists speak of the sudden flash of insight. Learning happens not in a very incremental way, not by trial and error, or happens by incremental, but it is incidental. It is insight, sudden flash of insight. And we have hierarchy of learning theory by Ghani, Robert Ghani, who spoke about 8 stages. Only if you pass one stage, you can go to the other. So, in this video, I am trying to compress all that we have to learn from various theories. Hope you will. When we think of learning, one of the towering person, one of the giants in this area is none other than Jerome Bruner. He spoke about the spiral curriculum. He spoke about learning as learning to learn. He spoke about discovery learning. He spoke about the 3 modes of representation, which are inactive, iconic, and symbolic. So we have wealth of information from this psychologist, a cognitive constructivist. He is the one who elaborated on this concept development process as well. So a concept having 5 elements, such as the 5 elements in a concept are a name or label, examples, attributes, attribute value. Some are essential and some are non-essential. Then rule or definition. Learning is an active process in which learners discover and construct new ideas, concepts based on their current or prior knowledge. The issues that guide this process must be personally or societally relevant. Bruner believed that the learner selects information, constructs ideas based on that information, and makes decisions by relying on their own cognitive structure of information. Bruner advised us to tap the basic curiosity of the child, to promote learning. Bruner believed that instruction should allow the learner to discover principles for themselves through active dialogue. Instructors should become information facilitators instead of information transmitters. So the concept of scaffolding. 5 elements of a concept, as I have explained: a name or label, examples, attributes, attribute value, essential attributes and non-essential attributes, that is attribute value, then the rule or definition. Instruction should address 4 major aspects according to Bruner. A predisposition toward learning, the ways in which knowledge can be structured so that it is readily grasped by the learner, effective sequencing of the material, the nature and pacing of rewards. To Bruner, knowledge is the activity of the person in the content domain, and learning is the struggling of the learner with the issues within that domain. Learning is learning to learn. Discovery happens spirally. He also spoke about the 3 modes of representation. They are inactive, iconic and symbolic. Inactive stage is almost similar to what Jean Piaget spoke about, sensory motor stage. Then there is this iconic, which is image building area, stage in the attainment of knowledge. And then symbolic, which is the highest level, formal operational stage according to Piaget. So, we are into this second person, another towering person who spoke about another giant in the field of educational psychology, who for the very first time spoke about schema, cognitive structure, cognitive functioning, and learning is this continuous process of assimilation and accommodation. Learning happens through assimilation and accommodation. Learning is the cognitive functioning, and schemas go on developing as we advance in age. He is a age and stage theorist, a person who believed that only a person can do certain things if he or she attains a particular stage in life, or age leads to stage. Piaget believed that cognitive development occurs through a sequence of successive qualitative changes in cognitive structures. Assimilation and accommodation work to help children learn quickly with increasing sophistication in schemas. So these are the various stages proposed by Piaget. Sensory motor stage. What happens in sensory motor stage? From birth to 2 years. Actions become more intentional and integrated into patterns. There is an increased awareness of self and surroundings. The concept of object permanence, coordination of reflexes, objectified causality, all these are some of the specific features of sensory motor stage. The children have nothing other than senses. Their intellect is not developed. The cognitive development has not happened. There is minimum language development. There is no concept development. So they need to touch everything. They need to feel everything. They need to take hold of everything. Abstraction is not anymore, available to them. Then there is pre-operational stage. This is logical operational. By the term pre-operational, we mean, or Piaget meant, logical operations. Pre-operation, before the operation, logical operation begins, 2 to 7 years. That is also divided into 2, which is pre-conceptual stage and conceptual stage, post or intuitive phase, 2 to 4 and 4 to 7. So development of language and conceptual thought occurs in this area. Animism, symbolism, deferred imitation, all this is happening in this stage. The kind of thinking is transductive reasoning. Reasoning is from particular to particular. The child argues from particular to particular. Then there is this third stage, concrete operational stage, 7 to 11 years. Increase the ability to apply logical thought to concrete problems. Thinking is still primarily related to immediate experience. So this is the stage in which logical reasoning begins, according to Piaget. There is this inductive, deductive reasoning happens. Reversibility, seriation, all this happens in this stage, concrete operational stage. So the concrete operational stage, they begin to think in concrete terms. So logical reasoning originates in this stage. Formal operational stage is a stage where they have the problem solving ability to apply logic to a variety of problems, higher order thinking occurs. Transfer of knowledge. All this is gifted to a child who has reached formal operational stage. So, cognitive development, what are the instructional implications that we have to take into consideration? There should be plenty of opportunity for assimilation and accommodation in order for students to proceed from one stage to the next. The richer the experience, the more elaborate the cognitive structural development. Materials and activities should be geared for the appropriate level of cognitive development. Now we come to social constructivist Lev Vygotsky. He was a Russian psychologist. He's from Russia. Russia being a communist country, socialist nation, his theory is also very much focused on the role of society, social development theory. So the main contribution from Vygotsky is his concept of zone of proximal development. Zone of proximal development. So we have to define it is the gap between what a person or individual can attain by himself and with assistance from others, or with the help of the more knowledgeable other. Vygotsky believed that social interaction played a role in the development of cognition. Learning could occur only through social contact. So, society's intervention is coming for the first time, and it precedes individuals' growth or development. Vygotsky states every function in the child's cultural development appears twice. First on the social level, then later on the individual level. First between people, then inside the child. So the interpersonal dimension happens before intrapersonal dimension can grow, according to Vygotsky. So we are almost towards the close of this video, where we will be discussing the Ghanese hierarchy of learning as well. Due to time constraints, I couldn't do justice to all the psychologists in all the schools, but I hope this skimming through various psychologists helped us to understand things in a very integrated way. We have to take into consideration the insights from various schools of thought so that we can form a comprehensive vision about learning and the process of learning. Signal learning is the basic form of learning. Once we reach signal learning, once we master it, only we can move to this second stage, stimulus response. Then there is this chaining. So these images show what happens. Classical conditioning, ringing of the bell, and the dog salivates, stimulus response. If this is classical conditioning, this is operant conditioning. Then this is chaining, verbal association. Whatever we learn with words, whatever is translated from mind to words, is verbal association. Various languages, we are naming things. All these are verbal association. Discrimination learning. Once we have the ability for language, we discriminate one thing from the other. Then various things are categorized, organized, so that we have concept learning. Then applying the concept or various concepts form rule learning into rule. Then application of a rule or principle is problem solving. So systematic problem solving ability is one's ability to systematically apply principles and definitions that we have mastered in life. Hope you enjoyed this presentation, and I wish and pray that you have a wonderful learning experience. Thank you.